Wagagap. Today is the 18th of July 2022. And we do our chanting practice, the morning puja, the evening puja. We cultivate the recollection of the qualities of the Buddha, the qualities of the Dhamma, the qualities of the Sangha. We recollect the qualities of the Buddha who has great benefit and support to all beings, who helps all beings. For instance, we recollect the loving kindness and compassion of the Buddha, which has no limit. The Buddha has this loving kindness and compassion to all beings, the same as if every being were his own child. And he sees that his children have suffering, and so the Buddha wants to help to alleviate that suffering. And so when the Buddha built parami in order to become a Buddha, he built his parami in this way, or for incalculable ages and 100,000 eons. So we recollect the Buddha, and this recollection of the Buddha has great benefit. It's a kammatthana meditation object that cares for our minds well. So we have this faith in the qualities of the Buddha, and when we recollect the Buddha, we see that we're close to Nibbana. We have respect for the Buddha. We recollect that the Buddha is rightly self-awakened. It's a pure mind with great wisdom that was able to achieve victory over the delusion in the mind. And then having conquered the ignorance in his mind, the Buddha taught the way to freedom to all of us as well. So we have faith like this in the Buddha, and having faith, this makes the mind ready, makes our minds ready to practice following the teachings of the Buddha, to cultivate our meditation object, whatever that meditation object may be. For instance, the in and out breathing, another meditation object that cares for our minds well. Another meditation object that cares for our minds well is Buddhanussati, this recollection of the Buddha. For instance, if we're having fear, perhaps encountering a dangerous situation, we recollect the Buddha. We can merely recollect Bhutto as a short form, and this recollection of Bhutto becomes our refuge. And if we die in that moment recollecting Bhutto, then we have faith and belief that when we die we'll go to a good place for sure. And if we don't have the karma to die, then we won't die there. So we recollect Bhutto, something that's very important. This practice of Buddhanussati has great benefit. We recollect that the Buddha is the awakened one, the joyful one, the pure one, is one who awakened already, realized purity of mind, realized joy. Because the mind that has greed, aversion, and delusion is not joyful. So therefore, for ourselves, if we want our minds to be joyful, then we have to take a look and see what our minds are lost in, what our minds are deluded by. For instance, clinging to the physical body. And we also have the eye seeing forms, the ear hearing sounds, the nose smelling odors, the tongue tasting tastes, the body feeling tactile sensations, and the mind experiencing mind objects. So we have this liking for visual forms, liking for the flavor of food, for instance, the experience of food, the liking of sounds or bodily sensations, and so on. And one can be lost in all these different pleasures, lost in liking, seeing these physical forms as beautiful. This is the mind that has delusion, that doesn't have knowing. This is the arising of delusion in the mind, which we can compare to sleep, the mind that's not awake. Just like someone who is sleeping, they don't know what's going on. They don't know the truth. And so another meditation object that takes care of our minds well is asubha kammatthana, to contemplate the body as not beautiful, not appealing. For instance, when the monks and novices ordain in the Buddha Sasana, they learn and study the 5 kammatthanas: hair of the head, hair of the body, nails, teeth, and skin. And we use these 5 objects as meditation words, repeating them backwards and forwards in the ordination ceremony. And this is a meditation object that can bring our minds to peace. It's a meditation object that cares for our minds well, to give rise to wisdom, to give rise to clear knowing and clear seeing, seeing that which we should know, we should see. So in the beginning, we see the body, whether our own body or another body, as beautiful. So we practice to see it as not beautiful. We train our minds. We can reflect, well, if it's actually beautiful, if it's really beautiful in truth, why do we have to clean and wash our hair? Why do we have to brush our teeth? Why do we have to shower? Why do we have to cut our nails? And so on. Because if the body was actually beautiful, we wouldn't have to do any of these things. But in reality, we clean our bodies all the time, because the cells of the body are constantly degrading, constantly passing away and aging. So the skin, the nails, the hair, and so on. And the teeth are always touching food and saliva, digestive fluids. These are things that are unclean and dirty. And so if we don't clean our teeth, then they become smelly from bacteria. And if we eat oily food, then our hair and scalp becomes oily. Our skin becomes oily. And all this discarded oil and so on the skin, the bacteria, according to their duty, they eat these things and produce smells. So this is something that's not clean, and it's something that bothers us as well. For instance, these clothing or robes that we wear, they become dirty from touching the body. If the body was truly beautiful and clean, then we wouldn't have to wash our clothing. So we can compare it, it's like a cloth that covers a corpse. The lymph and different fluids come out of the corpse, these yellow liquids, and they make the cloth dirty. So we see that the body is something unclean. Our clothing touches our skin, and it becomes unclean. So we contemplate like this, contemplate all the time to bring the mind to peace and collectedness with this meditation object. Contemplating to see the body as something unclean. So we practice like this, and practicing in this way, the mind becomes at ease. The mind is no longer stuck in liking and wanting these objects of the 6 senses, of smells, taste, touch, bodily sensations, mind objects, tactile sensations, things that we're always trying to gain, because we see the truth of them, and therefore we're not heedless, because we've seen the way things are. So we can contemplate that if we see something as beautiful, or see another person as beautiful, we contemplate that as convention, something that we're lost in. Because if it really is beautiful, if the body really is beautiful, then why do we have to clean it and brush the teeth and shower and all these things that we throw away, like the hair that we've cut off, we throw away, or the saliva and fluids from the body, or the water that we've used to clean the body and clean the hair, and the water we've used to clean the teeth, and the water we've used to clean our clothing, all that water, after it's used to clean the body and things that touch the body, that water we consider dirty and unclean. And if we use the same water multiple times, then we really see that water becomes very dirty. All this water used to clean the body becomes dark and black, and it's not clean. And so this is the uncleanliness of the body outside of the skin. When we take a closer look at the skin, we can think of the skin as something beautiful, something attractive. But when we peel away that skin, we see that the blood flows everywhere. There was one occasion during my 4th Rains retreat, I was listening to a talk by Venerable Ajahn Chah, and he was teaching that if there was no skin here, then this blood would flow everywhere. It'd be red all over the body. And we'd be sitting here like this in the meditation hall. And at this moment we're able to sit together. It doesn't smell that much because we've recently showered, we've cleaned our clothing. So if we eat a lot of meat, for instance, then we might smell even more. But if we don't have any skin, if we take away the skin, then it becomes red everywhere, and our nose starts to contact the smell of blood. We can ask ourselves, well, could we handle that? Could we take it? It would be red all over the place, and there'd be a lot of smell from that. And if the body dies, then it smells even more. So we see that truly the body is a bag of skin, and we don't see what's inside of that bag. So we contemplate and train in this Asubha practice, this Asubha meditation, which is something that cares for our minds very well. So we recollect the Buddha as the object of our mind, as an important meditation object. Bring our minds to practice and train in this way, to have affinity for this practice. And we train in seeing the not beautiful aspect of the body, and this practice is able to reduce the liking in the mind. And what do we do if the mind has disliking arise? We practice and train in loving kindness meditation. We recollect that all beings want happiness, no one wants suffering, and so therefore we have loving kindness for one another, loving kindness to all beings, to all individual minds. As we see, if there's no body, then there's no self already. If we take away these 4 elements, it's just the citta, just the mind that's left. And the citta, the mind under the influence of ignorance, proliferates based on things that are good, thinks and acts in good ways, and then also proliferates about things that are bad, thinks and does things that are demeritorious or bad. And so this is up to the ignorance in the mind that brings the mind to proliferate, whether in a wholesome way or unwholesome way. But we see that all minds want goodness, and so therefore we practice loving kindness. So we see that in truth that these individual minds, they don't have names. They're just these knowing elements, these minds under the influence of ignorance. They all want happiness. All knowing elements want happiness, want this good energy. Just like ourselves, just like we want happiness, others want happiness in the same way. It's like what we chant when we chant the chant on universal well-being, that may all beings be happy. We practice loving kindness for all beings. And in the Karniya Metta Sutta, just like a mother loves her child, so we practice loving kindness for all beings in that way. So we cultivate loving kindness, we practice Asubha meditation. These are things that we need to train in. And to cultivate heedfulness, what should we do? So we can recollect that if we have gain, we have pleasure, we have wealth, we may feel at ease and relaxed, but we get lost in these pleasures. And in this way, we no longer are interested in practicing generosity, virtue, or meditation. But we practice generosity, we feel at ease, and then we practice virtue and feel even more at ease. But the mind still has this busyness and distractedness, still has greed, aversion, and delusion arising, still has kilesas arising in the mind. And so we see that we need to train the mind to become collected and peaceful. So one who cultivates heedfulness in life, contemplates life as uncertain, as unsure, and sees that one day one must die. We don't know what day will die, what time, what place, what will be the cause of our death. No one knows this. So we contemplate that life is uncertain. We don't know how many days we have left. Therefore we can't be heedless. We should think of this all the time. Just like Venerable Ananda, who was already a noble disciple, he was a stream enterer. When asked by the Buddha, he responded that he recollected death 7 times a day. He was not heedless. But the Buddha responded that this is too heedless. The Tathagata thinks of death with every in and out breath. This is being heedful. So these 4 meditation objects, they are the Araka Kammatthana, the protective meditations. The first is the recollection of the Buddha. The second is Asubha, the not beautiful nature of the body. The third is loving kindness. And the fourth is the recollection of death. So may you practice and recollect and contemplate these to bring the mind to peace and collectedness for the sake of the arising of wisdom, to see that the body is just a body. These 5 khandhas of form, feeling, perception, mental formations, and consciousness, they merely arise and cease. Seeing this is seeing the Dhamma. So may you cultivate samadhi, collectedness, to rise to wisdom. May you all set your hearts on this practice.